If I could, I was in attendance last month and my name is missing from the roll call list.
One moment, please. Well, we can fix it, Ross, for sure. Apologies for having missed it, though. Do you have any other issues with the minutes?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Well, so all in favor of approving the minutes with the minor addition or a major addition of failing to add Ross's name to it, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. This is the opportunity for those attending to provide public comments. I'll open the floor to any comments. If you have anything you'd like to talk about at this point, please raise your hand. Oh, John Gutierrez.
I just wasn't sure if you needed me to introduce myself, Steve, that's all. I know in the past you have, so.
Gotcha. Yes, John Gutierrez works for Power and Tel. He represents one of the bidders that's we're going to be doing a bid opening this afternoon. So thanks for introducing yourself, John. Is there anyone else from any of our bidders attending today's call?
Steve McLaughlin here. I'm no longer on the board or anything, but I would like to see before October 1st, sort of an accounting in the Addison Independent, even if we have to pay for it, so that they will put it so it's not behind a paywall, just to say the good news that's there, because I think that some of the people who don't belong to Front Porch Forum or other online things are missing out on the good news that Maple Broadband has.
Let me give you my perspective on that, and then we can just sort of sort it out. I think we've since the beginning, we've worked with the Independent to ensure that people have access to Maple Broadband related articles. And I think as a general kind of agreement we have with the Indy is that they can try to, they might choose to put it behind a paywall for a few days, or 2 or 3 days, something like that. And if we request that they take the paywall away, they will do it. They're happy to do it. I think they're trying to do their best to make a buck. My personal preference is that we want to keep our businesses in operation, and certainly the press especially. I wouldn't want to deprive them of that ability to try to encourage subscriptions. So are you suggesting that we ask them to just always not put Maple Broadband related articles behind a paywall?
I'm suggesting at least twice a year, when I go out to the website for publications, I see something more current than 2024.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and I think in general we choose our battles with getting published. We don't want to tire our community with less than really important announcements, and so I think marketing decisions are generally being made in conjunction with our marketing firm on when to do that. But I think to your point, it certainly makes sense. Ellie, do you wish to make a comment on this?
Yeah, I think he was making a great point. I mean, we put out a press release about 2 months ago that the Addy Indy chose not to publish, just because I guess there's a lot of other things going on at the time. But it was about Chris Shute and I went down to Washington, D.C. and participated in the first annual conference of the American Association for Public Broadband and the Hill Day that happened after that. But it wasn't necessarily as relevant to the local community. But hopefully, I mean, we're as we'll talk about later, we're planning to bid again in the BEAD program. And if we're successful in that, hopefully that would be newsworthy. But I think in general, it's not up to us. It's up to the Addy Indy as to what they feel is newsworthy. But I think what you also said is perhaps we could pay for it. We could perhaps pay for an advertisement to talk about what we're doing, which might be worth discussion.
Any other thoughts on that from anyone? I like the idea of it, Hugh, to be honest with you. Well, first of all, thanks for attending the meeting, even though you're not a delegate. Please do not hesitate to continue attending. You've always offered wise input on things we're doing, and we wouldn't want to lose your insights. So thank you for attending today. I think we'll have to just have that conversation, perhaps at the executive committee, and also take it up with our marketing firm, and I'm sure Ellie will take that up and try to do our best to make sure that we, one way or the other, we have visibility to our community. Any other public comments? Okay, let's move on. Chair report. It seems to me we do have a lot of ground to cover today. I have some items that I'd like to cover with you, but I think it'll wait until September or so. We will move past that and then move to the biannual network build status report. Now, those of you who have been around for a while know every 6 months we present this form to you that you see on the screen. Basically kind of keeps you caught up on our relation, what we're doing and what WCBT is doing in support of Maple Broadband's work. And you can kind of see some of the stuff at the top of that really is just kind of background, basically real contrast. I think the best contrast is that first row. We've been around since 2020, and WCBT has been back around since 1904. So they're good at it. They got it figured out, and it's good to see that they're doing a good job, and that they're contributing to our goal of providing broadband access to every address in Addison County. And I know Roger Nishi, who is one of the heads at WCBT, is on today's call. Roger, do you care to make any comments or contributions here?
Sure. So as you can tell from the last time we reported, we've jumped to 7,749 homes passed. So that's an increase of 949 since the end of the year. In doing so, we finished the last 20% in Bristol. So we now pass. We rounded up to 100%, but there may be like 2% or so that we didn't pass yet, but we're close there. So we included all the locations in Bristol. In Ferrisburg, we had 25% more to finish up this year. We've done 15% to date. So the last 10% will be completed in the last half of the year. And one of the other big areas is we've noted that we've done some work in Lincoln, and we weren't planning on doing any of the work there until 2026, but we did find some areas that we could accomplish this year, and we've passed about half the homes in Lincoln. So those all make the contribution to the increase in the 949 locations. By the end of the year, we'll have miscellaneous buried locations that we'll have to build to next year if we run out of time on our berries. And in addition, half of Lincoln to complete. And that will be dependent on when we get additional funding through grants that Ellie and Steve are going to probably talk about later. Those are the BEAD grants. With that, if anyone has any questions, I'll answer what I can.
So we want to let Roger go. So before we do that, you have access to him, and he's got very good insights on pretty much everything that WCBT is doing. So if any of you have any questions at all, please raise your hand.
And Steve, I'm going to hang around just to hear what. Oh, you're going to do BEAD and executive, so I guess I'll leave sometime before then.
Well, Roger, there's no reason we can't include you in that executive session if and when we decide to do that. I think my guess is that's going to be a debatable item since there's not a lot of big things happening with BEAD. So I'll leave that decision up to Ellie on whether or not she wants to do that. But feel free to stay on for the duration, if you want to, and we won't hold it against you if you get called elsewhere.
So, well, appreciate that. So I'll hang out for a little bit.
Okay. Thanks, Roger. Okay. Now we're
Steve,
banging. Yep.
Steve, if I could just update from our end, the update from our end from the end of last year until now is that we turned on the 3 portions of 3 serving areas in Leicester in January, but then we haven't added anything else since then. So our number has crept up a little bit. It looks like 209 addresses from the end of last year to now, but obviously a little bit later in the agenda, we would like to get an authorization to continue building a little bit more this year with the remainder of our construction grant funds.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
so I had a question for WCBT.
Yes.
Just kind of wondering I'm wondering about the satisfaction of our subscribers and if WCBT could talk a bit about what, if any, complaints or issues our subscribers have been having. If there are some, what's the most common and the things that are being done to address them.
So really the biggest things that we hear from any customer is just, when are you going to get fiber to my location? And then once we hear that, it's reacting to see whether that is available to their location yet. And if we do pass the home, we'll try to sequence and get that built to them as quickly as possible. Now, there are some locations that we're holding off on not building to wait for this additional grant funding to come through. And so we've reacted to a few customers in those instances. And I think there was 1 or 2 very vociferous customers who wanted service right away. And I think our guys just said, okay, we're going to build to you now. But overall, once people get to service, the difference between the copper that they had and fibers is night and day. So we really don't hear the complaints at that point in time. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Ellie, to Ross's question, how are we taking the temperature of our subscribers in the areas there that non-WCBT service areas? Is that part of what we're seeing our marketing agency do?
Well, we did a survey a couple of months back, and that's one of the things that I spoke to them about a week and a half ago, that once we're finished the BEAD application, we want to revisit what we're doing in terms of post-installation surveys and surveys in general.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll add, Steve, that we did survey customers also. I just don't have that report handy right now. I'll try digging it up as you go through other items, and if I do find something I can comment, I'll let you know at the end.
Yeah, I think you and Kurt issued that once a year, is it, or every 6 months?
It's generally once a year, and it's done by actually an outside firm that actually calls and does online surveys of customers.
Okay, good. Excellent, thank you. Any other questions of Roger or Ellie regarding our progress?
Steve, I have one. If you don't mind, it's Adam from the Regional Planning Commission. And Roger, did I read your numbers right in that you only have, of all the people that you serve in Addison County, only about 100 have not been passed yet? Was that correct?
You're muted. You're muted.
Going off some state mapping numbers where they're including locations that I'm not sure are valid or not, because well, let me back up a little bit. In our systems, we have all the locations that have either had service or currently have service. There are locations that have never had service. So when we're working with the state database, there's approximately, I want to say 1,000+ locations that we don't know about. But we're actually doing site surveys now to try to determine what's at the location. Now, the state says they're broadband non-serviceable locations. So the number is actually higher than 100. At the end of this year, based on the numbers that I know of, though, I'll have only approximately 300, 400 customers or locations that we need to pass. So I just jumped all over on you. If you can focus on anything I said, I can come back around.
I might be able to add to that, Roger, because I was looking at the same thing when I was looking at the report I was putting up there, because we had a number on there of the total addresses and the number of total addresses passed. And the total addresses was based on a 2021 list from the state of Vermont. I don't want to say it's inaccurate, but one of the things actually that once we get through B that I want to have our GIS consultant have a look at is, of those addresses, how many are actually legitimately broadband serviceable, because the list from the state has a number of things like barns, for example, that have E911 addresses and sugar shacks and so on. And so I think that denominator is, it's kind of directionally accurate, but it could probably use a little bit of update and interrogation. So that might be a more complete answer to your question, Adam.
Okay, but it looked like it was only about 100 on the sheet that you posted earlier. Right, they had 7,800 addresses and 7,700 passings.
Yeah, well, like I said, that list of the total number of addresses that needed to be passed is a couple of years old and could probably stand to be looked at. So I think that their number about how many they have currently passed and how many they think are remaining is probably more accurate. But it's a great point that we should have a look and refresh that number, because I was having the exact same thought as you were looking at it, that might be a little bit off.
And so what I'm looking at, Ellie was referring to the line that's about 6 down, where we showed total addresses of 9,260.
And share it again.
In that 9,260, there are probably 1,000 or so that are non-broadband serviceable locations. So they're barns or item locations such as that will never have the fiber built to them. I'm not sure where you're coming up with the 100, but I think by the time we're done,
it's this, Roger, that our business plan that we had submitted to the VCB for our construction grant said that you had a total number of addresses of 7,831, and you're sitting at 7,749 right now. But this number, like I said, I think might be a little bit off because it's a couple of years old and may not be fully accurate.
Oh, Ellie, I'm sorry. I'm looking at one with 9,260 in that spot. So what
that's a little different, yeah.
Yeah, what may have happened, Adam, is I adjusted to what I thought were the serviceable locations. And yes, that number is low.
Yeah.
The 7,831.
Yeah, so let's have a look at that for next time we meet.
Thank you.
The other kind of general comment that we probably will dwell on a little bit later on is the fact that if we're successful with our BEAD application, we will be the administrator of some funds that we will provide to WCVT to support their continuing construction work in our CUD. So it is, with any luck here, with the winds going in our favor, we will have great news to report to you perhaps this time next year. Any other questions on this topic from anyone? Okay. Excellent. Let us move on to financial and procurement. I'm going to do made this really brief presentation here. One moment. Screen window. We've done this with the store before, but what we're doing, as we had told you in executive session earlier this year, we do have remaining funds available to continue doing construction, even though it's not the huge numbers like we had when American Rescue Plan was funds were distributed, but we do have some money, and some of it is from American Rescue Plan, some was from town donations and whatnot. And so part of what Ellie's been doing in the last say month or so is to try to figure out what's the best use of some of our construction funds this year as kind of a contingency against the possibility that we will not be awarded BEAD funds. So we do have in stock materials that we purchased for work that we did last year, and some of that is cable. We have a lot of cable in a couple different strand counts. But the one that we are shy on is 72 fiber cable. And so when we build out our network, we kind of have to strategically choose what strand count we want to use. And based on Ellie's analysis, we are going to need some more cable. And then the other item is the splitters, which I'll show you in a second here. This is a typical serving area, and the location of that splitters go into a cabinet that are located central in a given serving area. And this is what those guys look like. There's not a heck of a lot to them. These are connectors where you plug into the other side of this surface. And the red connector is the incident light beam that's coming from our electronics. And then to connect to somebody else, we run a jumper from that thing to one of these things. So what happens is that it expresses all of those connections. And basically one splitter, as our network is designed, serves up to 32 addresses. So as we grow, we started out building out our splitter cabinets with a default two splitters, enough to serve 64 subscribers. And as we add subscribers in a given serving area, WCBT mobilizes their technical resources, and they'll plug in another splitter basically, so that we can continue to grow the network using these splitters. And they are as small as they actually look. And then the cable, for what it's worth, is what this looks like. When we specified our cables, and that's kind of a long-term objective here, is to use the same materials as WCBT uses, so that it's familiar with them when they're going out and doing maintenance. And so this is kind of what it looks like in cross-section and whatnot. I don't think you need to see it in great detail, but that kind of gives you a sense of it. And I'll do a quick bid opening. We have 3 distributors we usually use for material purchase. And when we hit a certain threshold, we do go out to bid. And in the case where we're looking for 3 reels, 60,000 feet of 72 fiber cable, we went out to bid, and we also specified 15 more splitters, those little guys there, which will be need to be needed as we grow our network. So from three distributors, the first one I have in front of me is TVC, which is a subsidiary of Wesco International. This is kind of a peculiar one, so I'm going to give you the totals. The 72 fiber cable, their number is 30,836.40, 30,836.40. And then for the splitters, the total number is 9,034.75. Graybar quoted for, I'll get in the right order here. For the cable, total quote 26,361.60. And for the splitters, 9,340.95. That's 9,340.95. And then finally from Power and Tel, the cable, $29,400, 29,400.00, and the splitters, 10,405.05. So one thing we need to do is we always take a look at these, and we have to do kind of go back to our office and put our little visor on and check to make sure the numbers all line up and that the quantities are compared against each other properly, and that everyone's playing on a level playing field. And so we're not going to award it to the successful bidder yet, because we want to make sure we've got our thinking square before we proceed. But if you take any one of these three and add the two materials together, you're at about a $40,000 worth of figure. Yeah, that's what I did. And so what I'm going to pitch, if it's okay with the board, is I'm going to make a motion that we award up to $40,000 to the successful bidder for this work. And with your approval, then we'll do our diligence, make sure everything squares, and we'll do a final award in the next couple days. So I move that we allocate up to $40,000 for award of this work. I'll entertain a second from someone. Thanks, Nancy. That's a second. Okay. Discussion. Anyone have any questions? Want to discuss anything? There's probably some nuance in there. John.
Yeah, I have one question. On your bid package, you specifically said you wanted the cable guaranteed in 60 days. Roger can attest to my reputation for being firm and honest. If no one has this cable in stock, you're not going to get it in the 60 days. I think our bid reflected that. Most lead times for cable is anywhere from 10 to over 20 weeks right now. So just, and I'm not saying this because our numbers were what they were. I'm being totally honest with you. Please verify that and get it in writing that they will deliver it to you, because I can guarantee you might call them at day 58 saying, "Where's my cable?" And they might say, "Well, it's manufacturing delayed." So, we've done a lot of business over the last couple of years. I think you know me well enough now that I'm just being open and honest. Just be aware.
We will include that in our diligence, John. Thanks for your input.
No, my pleasure. I'm going to bow out if nobody has any other questions, or if you don't need me.
I think we're okay, sir.
All righty. You all have a good night. Thank you for the invite. We'll talk soon.
So we've seen a motion in a second. There is the floor is open for any other questions, discussions, concerns. Okay, all in favor of allocating $40,000 to purchase these materials, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I think, Ellie, you got the numbers for the construction award. Do you want to review that with everyone?
Sure thing. So I think we talked about this in previous meetings. We have just under 10 miles that we need to complete as part of, in order to close out our Act 71 construction grant. And then we also have some town ARPA money available. So there's about 14 miles identified with the executive committee, which are essentially line extensions, either in the towns that are not eligible for BEAD or in areas where it's more efficient to build with ARPA money than with BEAD money, because there's a lot of served addresses that need to be passed in order to get to a couple of addresses at the end of the road. So there's a little bit over 14 miles that we sent off to Syracuse Utilities, which was the construction firm we've worked with all along under the Act 71 construction contract. And so I gave them a cut down list of units in order for them to come up with a quote. And they did come up with a quote, and It was, as I said, it was there's certain things that I did not send to them, essentially because I didn't think it was worth the time to compile the number of anchors that were required, and certain things like the third party transfers, if there's other parties on the poles need to be moved up or down or to accommodate where we are to do the make ready. It's very difficult to estimate.
Uh-oh.
Complete those 14 miles to help us close out our construction grants, and then a little bit of extra mileage under town ARPA.
Ellie, you froze for a few moments. Could you back up about 45 seconds and say whatever you said again?
Sure. I'm not sure where that was, but my request is for an authorization of up to $650,000 to Syracuse Utilities for construction for an approximately 14-mile build for later this year. And the details of which were already approved by executive committee.
The number I saw when I printed that out, you said 600?
Yeah, they gave a quote of 375,000, but there were some units that I did not include for them to quote on, and then there's some things that are difficult for them to quote on because they have to do with third-party make-ready transfers. So I want to make sure that we authorize for significantly above and beyond what the high-level estimate was in order to make sure that we're not having to come back for approval.
Yeah. So to Ellie's point, every little activity that the contractor engages in has a charge associated with it, and some of them are very inexpensive, and some of them are quite expensive. But that's how it's kind of I would call it a la carte menu. Whenever you get something done, you're going to pay for whatever that agreed upon charge is. Ellie has worked with Syracuse Utilities since we awarded our first construction contract, and because we've developed a level of trust and confidence in them, the numbers that they put in, we know what they will follow, and Ellie has the tools to be able to track those expenditures to ensure that it's being we're spending our money wisely. Nancy.
Could you repeat this as a motion, please?
Yeah,
I'm taking minutes tonight, so that would be helpful.
Would you like me to do it? I'm a delegate. I can do it.
Do it, please, Ellie.
All right. I move that we make an award to Syracuse Utilities for an amount of up to $650,000 for completion of the mileage as previously identified and approved by Milford Broadband's executive committee.
Second. I'll second.
Sorry, do that one more time.
Okay, so it's for up to $650,000 to Syracuse Utilities.
Yeah.
For completion of approximately 14 miles of network build, the details of which were previously approved by Milford Broadband's executive committee.
Any questions from the floor? We've got a motion and a second.
Who was the second again?
I seconded.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from anyone on the floor? So this is also, Ellie, this is all money that we have in the bank right now to pay all this. Yep. Okay.
We do indeed. Between the ARPA, between the remainder of the Act 71 construction grant and town ARPA, we definitely do.
Okay. Okay. In the absence of any other questions or concerns, all in favor of allocating those funds for construction this year, please raise your hand or say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have a go, Ellie.
Thank you all. And I will just add to that Syracuse has construction crews ready as early as next week to come up here and work on the areas where we have pole licenses ready. There's a couple others where we're probably looking at October between some railroad bores that we need to do and some other pole licenses, but it'll be really good to have construction crews back in the area and getting people turned up.
Good, yeah. Things could change. I don't think they're going to change that fast if we're awarded BEAD, but Still, the fact that we have access to a contractor who's known to be competent, who can continue to build in our territory is really very comforting from my perspective. It's really great that we don't have to worry too much about quality issues. Okay, moving on to dashboard. Lynn, are you in a position to do that? Would we want Ellie to bring that up on the screen?
I can do it. Would you like me to do it, Lynn?
Yeah, that would be great, Ellie. Can you bring it up?
Okay. I sure can.
All right.
There it is. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the active grants cash situation. I think the main thing I want to call everyone's attention to is obviously we spent a little bit more money under pre-construction and construction from month to month. The main thing is that we are now sitting with a positive cash balance with construction, that on the 27th of June, we received payment from the VCBB for an invoice for the final, well, one of the final bits of our phase one of our construction grant. That we invoiced for that a long time ago, but we finally delivered all of the required documentation in the form of as-built. So we're now sitting with $404,000 in cash in the construction grant. There's, I think, 2%, which is a withholding until 6 months after all the grant obligations have been completed. So we have a total of almost $800,000 left in that grant. And then between the town ARPA, we have another $730,000. So that's the biggest change month to month, is that we've received payment on that invoice. Anything else on this tab? If not, I can't see everyone's hand. I can move to operations, but we can always come back. So let me make this a little bigger. So the operations tab, there we go. So we have not turned up any new mileage month to month, as you'll, whoops, sorry. As you'll see, the last time I revised the business plan was for BEAD in April. And so we're sitting right now a little bit ahead of what the business plan had projected, because again, as always, I try to have the business plans be very conservative in terms of expectations. So as expected, we haven't turned up any new mileage. We have one installation the last month more than projected. Our active subscribers are a little bit less than projected, because I think I was perhaps a couple more optimistic earlier, but we have more people taking phone service, which is great, and our take rate is right around what we projected, and the ARPU again is a couple dollars more than, sorry, that's average revenue per user, is a little bit more than what was projected, and total revenue also. So there's been very little change month to month. I think we're up about 0.5% in terms of the number of people who are choosing the gig service. But other than that, the phone service is essentially unchanged. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have, but I can answer any questions on this tab. Okay, hearing none. And then the final thing is that we have this budget to actual, which we update quarterly, and we are so close to the end of the second quarter now that we haven't updated this for this meeting, but we'll do that in September. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, we good?
Okay, thanks, Ellie. Audit. I lost track. We get the, what is it, 2023 audit got approved, and so we're talking about 24.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're getting close to sending the 2024 general ledger numbers to the auditor. We should be able to do that by the end of this month. And, the hope is that we can get the work done August and September, and hopefully have audit report to share with the committee in the October meeting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what are prospects, Lynn? Everything is in order right now?
Yeah, I think that the 2023 audit got delayed, and part of that was around the capitalization project part of the audit. And Ellie and Darlene, our bookkeeper, did a ton of work and are on the same page with the auditor. And so Ellie is plugging away and very close to finishing the spreadsheet and giving that to Darlene to check before we put transactions into the 2024 ledger. So, the hope is that we'll meet with Bonnie in the next couple of weeks once Ellie's back from vacation, and start the process. And Cy has agreed to help out as well, which is great because Cy was the treasurer during 2024. And my hope is to just make the process, once the auditor is involved in looking at the numbers, as efficient as possible.
Yep. And sorry to step away for a moment. The only thing I'd add to that is that I was in contact with the auditor about a week ago, and our aim is to get ourselves wrapped up by the end of August so we can present this to the governing boards for the September board meeting.
Okay.
For a variety of reasons, that is extremely desirable, and I don't see any reason why that's not achievable.
Awesome. That's great. And I am not going to be at the September meeting. I'm going to be on a plane to Spain. So
lucky you.
Yes. So anyway,
Europe is lovely in the autumn.
I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, I'm sorry to miss that meeting. And Ellie, thanks for the update. That Bonnie thinks she can pull it together by the end of August. That's great.
Yeah, she didn't give me any reason why that wouldn't be achievable, presuming that we got her the information shortly. And as you said earlier, I'm almost done with all the asset capitalization except for the drops in the inventory, which is only another 2 hours or so, which I should finish up probably on Thursday.
Cool. Great. Any questions from anybody about the audit?
We want to know where you're going in Spain.
I am going hiking for 2 weeks in the Basque region, in a mountain range called Pico de Europa.
Yeah, I approve. I'm Mexican Basque, so I've lived in Bilbao for a while. So
Oh, you have?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. My family has one of the inns along one of the old church chapels that used to be. It's beautiful.
Okay, well, thank you, because we're hiking inn to inn or hotel to hotel. Somebody's schlepping our luggage. So great.
My nephew did it last year to Santiago. Are you going all the way to Santiago?
Not all the way to Santiago, no. Mm-mm.
Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be great.
Great. Thanks, Jose.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't recognize Jose Aguayo, he works for the VCBB, and he's kind of attends some, maybe most of our meetings, just to track what's going on, make sure everything is in order, and contribute when it's appropriate. So he's always welcome. Until we get to an executive session, then it's a whole different matter.
Yeah.
All right. So any other questions about the audit? I think it's great. The amount of pain and suffering we went through to do 2023 and thinking that it's going to happen so quickly. This is kind of what I was hearing. It's going to be a slog for 23, but it's going to be pretty fast for 24. It looks like that's going to be the case. So I love it when that happens.
I know. Great when a plan comes together, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So no other questions on the audit. So Ellie, if you could catch us up on marketing, please.
Sure. So the marketing updates, just a couple of things. I think the main one is that we have a new website, which is in the final stages of development. I'm just trying to work through some final details before we turn it live to the public. But that is really exciting to have a website that's been refreshed and reflects more our status as a service provider than the website we had before, where we it started off with as Maple Broadband as Communications Union District, which is great, but we were kind of shoehorning into an existing template the service provider bits. And so if you have to look at our current services on a mobile device, for example, I do not recommend it. It doesn't look good. So we're working on getting that sorted out and just making the whole thing more user friendly and having the FAQ be more up to date with what are people actually asking nowadays. So I think that's really exciting. We had about a week, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, we had a local photographer out to do a photo shoot, so that's the images that we see on the website and in our marketing materials would be reflective of actually us, of our community. There's a number of local businesses and individuals that volunteered to participate. I mean, everything from a B&B in Panton to Virgin's Laundry and Lulu and Virgin's, and Shard Villa down in Salisbury, and individual in Middlebury. Steve and I are also in some of those. And just to repeat, because I did send an email to the governing board, but one of the things that London Middlebury did pick out is that it really humanizes the district when we can put up photographs of ourselves. And so for those of you who haven't sent me photographs of yourself, would really like to be able to get headshots of you. It doesn't need to be anything professional, but it would be better to have some sort of a photo, even non-professional, than no photo. Otherwise, we'll put up an avatar or some generic thing, but it'd be really great to get those. And then the photographer is going to come back in the fall for autumn photo shoots. And so we'll have a little bit more lead time to make sure the governing board members have an opportunity to come and get a professional photo shoot. So that's that. And there's been a couple of marketing activities that we specifically held up, if I could say that, in order to be able to have the photography in hand. So one of the things that we want to do is to do an outreach with actual mailers to people who live within the city of Virgins, who we believe based on the Vantage Point designs can be served aerially, which means that we can get to them quickly and cheaply if they only sign up. And we know as well from the Comcast pricing that we actually compare quite well to Comcast pricing in Virgins. We're just trying to drive awareness of that to be able to build some momentum quickly and cheaply. So we have a mailer that's going to go out very soon as the photographs from the photo shoot are actually through editing and proofing. And then the other thing London Middlebury sent me just today, but I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, is a schedule for summer markets so that we can be having ourselves show up. So we have, I think Matthew's here on the phone. I think I saw him. And for those of you who don't know him, this is our summer intern from Middlebury College. And he's helping with a number of things, but one of them is in the month of July, before he goes back to California for the month of August, where he's from, is to actually help with tabling at events. So I'll be there as well. And that's something else that I'm going to be sending out in the coming weeks, is a request for volunteers from the governing board, as well as the broader community, to help us table at events to have more in-person representation for Maple Broadband. And then we are also planning, I think I mentioned this in the last governing board meeting, but we're also planning to have a try before you buy kind of pop-up event at Lulu, because they were able to switch from Comcast within the last month or so. And they did have their grand reopening with a new renovation. So things are a little bit more relaxed their side. We've been talking to them for some months. So excited to get that going and just build more in-person awareness. Matthew says his camera isn't working, but he's waving at his screen. So Matthew's a wonderful intern. He's been great to have on board. So any questions or comments on the marketing side? Lots going on.
I probably missed it, Ellie. I know originally when we signed up with London Middlebury that they had projected that the website would be done in June. What are we thinking now? It sounds like there's still refining going on.
Yeah, there's still refining going on. I think probably I would say mid-July if it wasn't for my vacation. It might be, we need to check with our current web hosting providers as to when it is that the current arrangement ends, because we don't want to pay for another year. Even if the website is 95% done, we'll cut over to it. So I actually need to follow up with them because they haven't replied to my mail. But it'll either be, if it was up to me, it would be the week after I'm back from vacation, just to make sure that I have enough time to go through it with leisure and that we're not launching something prematurely. I'm on vacation next week, so that would be the week after. But it may be a little bit sooner if we're having our hand forced. I mean, even right now, the draft that's up, I think, is really quite good, and the average person wouldn't notice the details, but it's one of those things where when it's your baby, you notice all the details and you want it to be perfect.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Ellie on our marketing activities? Okay. Well, do you want to have a big conversation, Ellie? Should we go into executive session?
I think we should. I think we should give an update.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna submit some
Bye,
motions
Jose.
and
Thank you for coming. We'll be in touch.
Thanks for
and
having
when
me.
we do our motions, yeah, when we do our motions, we're going to include Roger as well, so he can contribute if and when it's appropriate.
And also Matthew Mills, please, our intern.
Oh, yeah. Matthew. Okay, I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding Maple Broadband's business strategy would clearly place us at a substantial disadvantage because it risks disclosure of our activities if they were to be communicated to the public. Is there a second? Got a second from Nancy. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I move that we enter into executive session to discuss business strategy under Title I, Section 313, subsection A of the Vermont statutes, and the attendance would include Roger Nishi and Matthew during and Lynn during the executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
Any opposed?